When rich people tell you how they became successful, listen carefully. Not to what they say, but to what they leave out. Because success stories usually sound like this: discipline, sacrifice, mindset, early mornings, hard work. And yes, hard work matters. But hard work is not the whole story. Hello. Welcome back to Smart AF, the show where we cut through the noise and give you the facts, straight up. Now, when I say rich people in this episode, I am not talking about every person with money, because obviously not every rich person is successful, impressive, or even working. Some people are just born near a crown and spend the rest of their life being a public relations emergency. I am talking about rich, successful people who sell us the story of success as if it was all discipline, mindset, sacrifice, and hard work. And some of them absolutely did work hard. Some people really do start with very little. Some people are talented, disciplined, obsessive, and willing to keep going long after everyone else quits. But what often gets left out of success stories is the support system that made that hard work possible in the first place. Because there is a big difference between working hard while carrying every part of your life alone and working hard while other people are quietly holding the rest of your life together. That is the part nobody wants to put in the motivational speech. Because I woke up at 5 a.m. and built my dream sounds very inspiring. I woke up at 5 a.m. because someone else was watching the kids, cleaning the house, organizing my calendar, editing my content, managing my emails, cooking my meals, driving me places, protecting my time, and making sure my entire life did not collapse behind the scenes. Does not have quite the same ring to it, but it is often closer to the truth. And this is where the success story starts to get suspicious. Not because successful people are lying about everything, but because they are usually telling the clean version. The version where they are the main character, the visionary, the disciplined genius, the person who wanted it more than everyone else. And sometimes that is partly true. But what gets erased is the invisible labor around them. The childcare, the staff, the assistants, the editors, the managers, the family support, the partner doing unpaid work at home, the connections that opened doors, the timing that worked in their favor, the platform that pushed their content, the safety net that allowed them to take risks without being destroyed if things went wrong. And once those things disappear from the story, success becomes a morality tale. Rich people worked hard, struggling people did not. Successful people had discipline, ordinary people made excuses. Winners had the right mindset. Everyone else just did not want it badly enough. And that is where I think we need to pause and be a little smarter. Because most people are not lazy. Most people are overloaded. There is a difference. A rich, successful person can say, "We all have the same 24 hours in a day." But that is one of those sentences that sounds deep until you think about it for more than 3 seconds. Yes, technically we all have 24 hours, but we do not all have the same 24 hours. Some people have protected hours. Some people have interrupted hours. Some people have hours filled with creative work, strategy, meetings, and growth. Other people have hours filled with school lunches, laundry, commuting, bills, groceries, caregiving, appointments, cleaning, emotional labor, and trying to answer one email while a small child asks for a banana and then screams because the banana has been peeled. Same number of hours, completely different load. And this is important because hard work is not just effort. Hard work also needs time, not random scraps of time, not 10 minutes between the school run and dinner, not trying to think deeply while someone is yelling from the bathroom that they need help. Real, focused time. Because if you have 3 uninterrupted hours to work on something, you can go deeper. You can make better decisions. You can solve bigger problems. You can actually finish things. But if your time is broken into tiny pieces all day, you might technically be working hard, but you are constantly restarting. You are constantly losing momentum. You are constantly spending energy just to get back into the task. That is why support matters so much. Support does not just make life more comfortable, support protects focus. And protected focus is one of the biggest hidden advantages in success. So when someone says, "I just worked harder," we need to ask, harder under what conditions? Because this is not an argument against hard work. It is an argument against pretending hard work happens under equal conditions. Effort needs capacity. It needs time. It needs energy. It needs attention. It needs room to breathe. And if your whole life is already full of unpaid, unseen, uncounted work, then telling you to simply hustle harder is not advice. It is just guilt with a podcast microphone. The real question is not just, how hard did this person work? The real question is, what did they not have to carry while they were working? Because that is the secret advantage. Some people can focus because someone else is handling the background noise. Some people can scale because someone else is doing the repetitive work. Some people can take risks because failure would be embarrassing, but not catastrophic. Some people can build for years before making money because there is family support, savings, status, or a safety net underneath them. That does not make their work fake. It makes their story incomplete. And incomplete stories are powerful because they make success look simpler than it really is. They make it look like the only difference between a billionaire and a normal person is mindset. They make it look like if you are not rich yet, you must be missing discipline, ambition, or confidence. But maybe you are not missing discipline. Maybe you are missing support. Maybe you are not bad at life. Maybe you are trying to run an entire operation by yourself. And this is not just about celebrities or billionaires. You see this everywhere now. Productivity influencers selling morning routines, business gurus talking about sacrifice, wellness people telling women to prioritize self-care as if self-care is a calendar problem and not a labor problem. Rich, successful people saying they built everything themselves while standing on a mountain of other people's work. And this is where the conversation becomes useful for normal people, because most of us are not trying to build an empire from a private jet. We are trying to build something in the middle of real life. I will use myself as an example. I am trying to build this YouTube channel while also working, being a mom, managing family life, dealing with health stuff, and trying to stay consistent without a production team hiding in the pantry. So when successful people say, just be consistent, I get it. Consistency matters. But consistency looks very different when you are creating with support versus creating while your life is pulling on you from 6 directions. And that is why the solution is not to shame ourselves into working harder. The solution is to get more honest about capacity. If you are building something right now with extra things to carry, the question is not, why am I not moving as fast as them? The better question is, what is the smallest support system I can build around this goal? Because support does not always mean hiring a team. Sometimes support is a repeatable workflow. Sometimes it is batching one task. Sometimes it is using templates. Sometimes it is using AI tools or scheduling apps or grocery delivery. Sometimes it is asking your partner to fully own bedtime, dinner, or school admin on certain days. Not help, but actually own it. Sometimes it is paying for one thing that saves your sanity. Sometimes it is swapping childcare with a friend. Sometimes it is lowering the standard on things that do not need to be perfect. And sometimes support is simply admitting, I cannot build this the same way someone with staff, money, and unlimited time builds it. So I need a version of success that fits my real life, not their edited one. Because if you ignore your actual life, you will build a plan that collapses the first time someone gets sick, the washing machine explodes, or a child suddenly remembers at 8:47 p.m. that they need a costume for tomorrow. So yes, work hard. But do it by designing around your life. That is not making excuses. That is strategy. Because rich, successful people often move faster because they remove friction. The useful lesson is not wake up at 5 a.m. and suffer more. The useful lesson is protect your focus, reduce friction, and stop pretending unsupported ambition is the same thing as supported ambition. That part is useful. The lie is pretending they are doing all of that alone. And this is why we need to be more honest about success stories. Not because we want to shame anyone for having help. Having help is smart. If you can afford support, use support. If you have people around you, build with them. If you can remove friction, remove it. The problem is not having help. The problem is pretending help does not count. Because when help is hidden, everyone else starts blaming themselves for not keeping up. So the next time someone very rich tells you success is simple, ask one question. Who helped? And then ask yourself the second, more useful question. With the time, money, and resources I actually have right now, what kind of support would help me move one step closer to my goal? Because some people are self-started, but almost nobody is self-made alone. And if you are building something right now without much support, please hear this. You are not behind because you are weak. You are building with fewer hands on the wheel. The one thing rich people rarely admit about success is not just what they did, it is what they did not have to do. And if we were more honest about that, maybe fewer people would confuse exhaustion with failure. If this made you think of an invisible job in your life that nobody counts as work, put it in the comments. And if you like smart, slightly spicy breakdowns of the stories we are sold, subscribe to Smart AF. That's it for today's episode of Smart AF. And remember, making informed decisions is your right. So before you believe the hype, get Smart AF. See you soon. Thanks for listening. If you know someone who needs this info, please share this video with them. If you found this interesting, a thumbs up and subscribe would mean a lot. And tap the bell so you never miss an update.